Is BG a rat?
2009. It was 7:20 p.m. and the NOPD narcotics unit was on patrol when they observed a white Ford truck traveling at a high rate of speed through the Central City neighborhood in New Orleans. Disregarding a stop sign, detectives conducted a traffic stop, finding much more than they anticipated. They would notice the occupants of the truck were moving erratically inside. Asking them to step out of the vehicle, the driver would be identified as Christopher Dorsey and more commonly known as BG. The front passenger would be identified as Darian Blunt and the back passenger as Kentrell Washington. As Kentrell stepped out of the back of the truck, a detective could observe in plain view a plastic bag appearing to contain marijuana. The bag was partially covered by a t-shirt on the back passenger seat. Washington would be detained as the detective retrieved the live Ziploc bag containing 446 grams of marijuana. Stepping away from the truck, the detective then observed a black barrel protruding from underneath the driver's seat. Immediately upon seeing the officer retrieve the 9mm Beretta 92 FS, Kentrell Washington would state, "That gun and weed is mine." Washington, who's a convicted felon, was then arrested and taken to the 6th District Police Station for booking. He'd again inform NOPD officers, as well as a federal ATF agent named Special Agent Borick, that the handgun was his and that he had in fact obtained the gun from his girlfriend Trina Jones, who brought him the gun from Houston and New Orleans a month prior. Agent Dorick took possession of the handgun and marijuana while taking custody of Washington and federally arresting him.
I completed a 27 to 40 year sentence, and I did 24 years off of that, from the age of 17 to the age of 41. Is BG a rat? You know, the reason why so many people can't figure it out is because you got a bunch of people that's not even street people that's trying to determine who it is that's a rat and who it is that's not a rat, which is, hey, everybody is within their own right. And then that question is not even consistent and agreed upon people that's locked up in a penitentiary. You know, you got people that got different perspectives, you know, of what that is. And so, like I said in a previous video, the best thing for you to do is to have a good understanding of whoever it is that you are in a situation with, where the possibility for somebody to, what would be your definition, rat is, be addressed and made known to the people that you are doing something with. And they should do the same thing. Because it's just like love. Sometimes two people may have two totally different understandings of what love is. And so when they ask the question of, do you love me? The answer is yeah, but the standards might not be meeting up to your standards on what love is. The same thing applies with ratting, because we're talking about principles. Now, so and with that being said, that's the reason why you got police that up under a certain criteria will call other police a rat. You got teachers that up under a certain standard will call other teachers a rat. You got criminals that up under whatever standard that they possess will call somebody else a rat. You got political and community activists that up under whatever standard they set will call somebody a rat. And all of those things may be different. It doesn't mean that any one of those things are wrong, you know. So here we got Terrance Gangster Williams. Whenever somebody come to me with some type of information, and it's a part that says, when speaking about a loyal person, it says they open their ears not into slander, the faults and the felons of their neighbor give a pain to their heart. So in other words, when slander is busy and the fame of their neighbor is tossed from tongue to tongue, if the charity or good nature don't open their mouth, then a finger of silence rests on their lips. In other words, they don't say shit. They just sit back and let things play out however it is that they play out. And so I've been avoiding all of this rat stuff with King Yeller, with BG, with what's the YSL dude, you know, Young Gunner. I've been avoiding a whole bunch of this stuff because I know that it's very subjective. And so the first thing that you need to ask if you're going to listen to somebody is, what is their motive? See, with Terrance Gangster Williams, his motive is always going to be, it's not just me, it's him also, right?
So BG really told on you, or what he did?
Yeah,
Yeah, so he had to, see that, okay, when I went down there, this I had to, man, he was messing with my see lady, man, with my mama. I know you heard about messing with a girl from Houston, with my mama. So he messing with her, and then we ended up moving down there. I had my own shit going on in Houston, bro. And I ended up going to New Orleans. He messing with her and ended up coming over to my house, see what I got going on. They wanted me to come down there to New Orleans with him.
Because he know that he has a label of being a snitch or a label as being a rat. So his biggest thing is going to always be to show that, hey, somebody else is the same as me or they worse than me, so you can't call me the rat. Same thing that Trenches News would do, and anybody that has that label. I guess we're just dealing with human nature, right? We're just dealing with human nature, right? And so that's what they do. Then you have Kentrell Washington. Kentrell Washington get on there. When he first started talking, is blah, 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 blah. So you can pretty much skip a whole lot of that stuff that he talking because it's just rah-rah, right? When he get to talking all of that, he was scared of this person. That ain't got nothing to do with what the question is that's at hand. Only thing that do is prove that you're trying to do whatever you can to belittle that person. The story wasn't about if he was a gangster or not. The story wasn't about if he was scared of somebody or not. The story was about is he a snitch or not. And so when a person first come off like that and they begin to talk about all of the other things that will make that person seem weak instead of just immediately addressing the issues and the fact, then that lets you know they have another motive, right? They have another motive. Here's what happens so many times, and I can tell you that it happens so many times because it happened to me. I had a co-defendant, right? In Michigan, we call them rappies. And I had a brilliant, dumbass plan to where, my idea was shouldn't more than one person go down for one body. And this was a case that I was so damn smart in my 17-year-old dumbass that I said, well, I can beat this with self-defense, right? I even took my stupid ass to the library and looked up some law. We call them co-defendants in Michigan, right? Looked up some laws, thought I understood it. Really, I didn't understand shit. At that time, I thought that life, the most time that you could do off of life was 10 years. And I was 17 years old, and I figured the most time that I can ever get was life, and that was 10 years. So whatever time I got, I'd be home before I was 30 years old. So I didn't care about nothing that I did because I thought that I didn't really understand the consequences, right? And so I had no problem with earning a body. I had no problem with taking a weight for a body. Now my co-defendant, my rappy, he was maybe about 5 or 6 years older than me. He understood the law a whole lot more than I did, but I was the more assertive one. I was the more aggressive one. And so when I had the brilliant idea to really, I was taking responsibility, saying, look, this is my fault. Really, it's a self-defense. So if you ever get caught, just say this, which I was going to say it was an affirmative offense and I did it, but this is the reason why I did it. Self-defense, right? That was dumb as hell, right? Instead of him being wise enough to say, okay, even if you go with that defense, we present that defense to the lawyer. You don't present that defense to the police. You don't present that defense to the detectives because it's you against them. And no matter what it is that you say, it will and shall be used and misused and misconstrued and turned around and altered against you. That's the reality, right? And so what a lot of people do is they agree to take the case. And once they take the case and they end up, either one or two things happen. With me, ain't no sense. One, first of all, I was the gunman. I pulled the trigger. That's what it is. I admitted to that. I agreed to that, and I would never let nobody else go down for something that I did. That's just me, right? But for you to see, here's what happened. My co-defendant, he got released after arraignment because I said he didn't know nothing about it, and I was going for affirmative defense, which is self-defense, right? It was dumb as hell, and regardless of how dumb it was, it was my decision. That was my doing. But what ended up happening, our agreement was I got my safe over your mama house. Take the money off of the safe. I done introduce you to Connect. So just make sure that you give the lawyer, Mr. Blank, 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 the money. He didn't give him the money. So when he didn't give him the money, then my beef with him, it wasn't about him making a statement, even though he said some things that we didn't agree. Even though they got to ask me about other murder cases, and some of them was stuff that only he knew, so I knew that he told them about that, even though with all of that, my biggest beef with him was he didn't give the lawyer my money. And because he didn't get a lawyer my money, and I had his statements that I agreed, hey, tell him I did it, tell him the guy was reaching for a weapon and whatever. The thing with that is, you'll never make no statement like that because the police are going to omit some of the stuff that you say. Now everything is recorded, but then they will omit some of the things that you say, and they're only going to put the stuff in there that's damaging to you. And this is the reason why you do not say anything, right? This is the reason why you do not say anything, And so what ended up happening is once he didn't get a lawyer the money, now, sure, to the hood, he a rat, But it was because he didn't get a lawyer the money. It wasn't because he said that I did something, because we already agreed, but I had the paperwork in black and white that can support me slandering him, saying to prove that he said something. Now, this ain't got nothing to do with the other cases that what the other incidents that he told them about that I knew he was the only one that knew about. That's not what I was telling the people in the hood about. I was telling them about what he said, showing the paperwork on what he said from what we agreed on. And so this is what you have in an instance right here. You could tell that they agreed upon him taking the case, first of all, because he said it. Second of all, because they repeated the same thing that he said. Here is where, if you got an argument, they was wrong at. And both of them was wrong. Then it becomes a question is, if two people wrong, does that make it right? You see, when they came to court, they was wrong as hell. So here, let's back up. Dawgface Calderon. He said he did a big bit, 16, 17 years or whatever, inside of the MDOC. I did 24 years there.
Now let me talk. It's a lot of controversy online about the whole BG thing, right? Did BG snitch on the motherfucker? Didn't he snitch on him? What do we call snitching? All sorts of kind of shit, right? It just so happens that I have read the same paperwork. I've had the opportunity to peruse the documents, as they say, right? 1090 Jake just dropped his whole thing. We know 1090 Jake is he does a thorough job investigating this shit. And it doesn't even have to be a thorough job. It's all about getting the paperwork. 1090 Jake was able to secure the paperwork as it specifically relates to BG and catching the gun case, or not catching the gun case, because he didn't go to jail for this particular charge. He went to jail a short time later for something else, and that's what got him over a decade in the penitentiary. Another situation happened shortly thereafter. So listen. So let's just say this, right? A lot of motherfuckers ain't never been on penitentiary. They really ain't been in jail, and with no significant matter. They ain't been in the library. They don't know what federal second, federal third, federal fourth, federal supplement. They don't know what compiled law, state compiled law is. They don't know about no supplement. None of that shit, right? So they don't got a clue. So let me just help you out here. So the one thing that 1090 Jake did do is that he established the fact that it was BG and a couple more guys in the car. They got pulled over, with BG being the actual bag. BG he's BG. A lot of times when you have somebody who is the bag, whether they're an actor or an artist, a rapper, R&B singer, whatever the case may be, or you're in the world of sports, right? And streets and how streets work. The word rat, that shit is being used and tossed around inappropriately. Not in my opinion. I'm telling you, because I'm a gangster nigga who did 17 summers in the penitentiary, and I also did 6-7 years in juvenile facilities, right? So let me just help y'all with this. 1090 Jake, his interpretation of the paperwork, and then he matched it with what BG said, right? And what people have been saying out of their mouths. When they got pulled over, it is a fact that the person who eventually caught that charge, the guy who was with BG, I think it was 3 people in the car, right? BG's story is, when they get pulled over, that the guy, they had a conversation and the guy agreed to take the charge. When they get pulled out of the car, they searched the car, they found a pistol in the car. As agreed on by everybody in the car, the brother took the case. He said, "Oh, that's my pistol." The police would ask BG and the other guy, "Well, who pistol?" "Bitch, you heard what he said, bitch. He said it's his. Ain't none of mine, bitch. Fuck is you talking about?" Right? BG saying, "You heard, that's his shit. They already agreed upon it. It ain't like BG just sprung his shit on the motherfucker. It ain't like BG took the pistol and threw it up under the nigga's seat. It ain't like that. How it is." Right? At the bare bones essence of the case, the brother agreed to take the pistol Basically, BG was the head. The head fall, ain't nothing shaking. He agreed to it. When the police got him down there, right, when they take him in the custody, take him down there, they further questioned him about the firearm and about, what happened, what's going on in that car. The guy said, hey, listen, it's my gun. I got the gun for my sister. Clutch his pearls. We're going to clutch the pearls right there. He said, it's my gun. I got the gun for my sister.
I like a lot of stuff that he say, but some of the stuff, I don't agree with everything, right? The moment that they brought them back to court and wanted them to testify for the prosecutor, unless they were saying something to exonerate him, up under no circumstances, to my definition, should they be saying anything to condemn him. If anything, they will plead the fifth and deal with whatever consequences it is that come with that. And you rob somebody because they was trying to rob you, but when you got down on them, they told, if you start telling them about the robberies and stuff that they did. For me, that would be bold to say over the stand. That would be bold to make a statement about, But for other people, they may say, well, that's the only way that I got to fight them. But when you begin to do that, then you're going down a slippery slope, because some other people might be like, well, shit, he got more money than I do, so the only way that I got to fight him is to tell. Now you're dealing with a whole nother thing, right? So no, I don't, the moment that if they came back to court, if that's the case, even though dude was, he should have stuck to his word. When I made a dumbass decision to do what the stuff that I did, and then when I made another decision, I won't even call it dumb because I was the trigger person. When I made the decision to cut the other person off the case, then that's what it was. Now, when them coming back down to court, riding on helicopters and everything, and not saying stuff to help me, yeah, they bold for that, because we had an agreement on what you're supposed to say. But even if I agreed on you saying something stupid, because I'm thinking that I understood the law, at the end of the day, that's more of a judgment call. You might not like what I'm saying, but it's the fucking real. So, with Dawgface, and I do a whole nother thing dealing with Dawgface or whatever. Most of the stuff I stand with him on, but he got some few sketchy perceptions that to me is just bold, right? But we'll deal with that at another time. And then, so you got Terrance Gangster Williams, he got a motive. You got Dawgface that's making a really good argument for BG, but he is skipping over the part of the people coming back to court and testifying for the prosecutor, to make sure that he get denied. If I say I'm going to take this case and then I try to get off on a technicality, you can't get mad at me. I already cut you off the case. So because I cut you off the case don't mean that I have to accept 100 years. As long as I'm not including you and incriminating you, then if you come back to court, you can always refuse. You can always plead the fifth. But the reason why they didn't plead the fifth is because they wanted to make sure that he didn't beat the case, because if he beat the case, they didn't want the retaliation to be that they were charged with it. And to me, that's bold, but who the hell am I? So in one sense, no, the initial thing, no, he wasn't a rat. But even though we agreed to this, you ain't got to help seal a case. You ain't got to make the case stronger against me. As long as I'm saying that I did it, you ain't got to come through with extra force to make sure that they know that I did it. You don't got to give me that kind of support. And so, yeah, we'll look at those things, That's a big difference. One day I'm going to go over my paper. Thank y'all for the 200 subscribers. Trust me, that means a lot. In 2015, that was my first time ever seeing the internet. That was my first time ever seeing a cell phone. And to have 200 subscribers, that's a lot for me. It'll be even more when I get 500. So if you like what I'm bringing, hit that subscribe. Next time, this is Gangster Astrology and Rap Beat. Deuces.